Welcome to the Hook Pod. I'm Chunk.
I'm the Chippy. Today we have a very special pod. Chunk and I have decided that we've been talking recently about our most epic fishing adventures, and we thought we'd share them with you guys. And we're also going to run a competition this week. And if you would like to share your epic fishing adventure, you could win a merch pack and also to be able to come on the pod with Chunk and myself, the Chippy. Let us know in the socials. If you win, you'll be invited on to the pod, and we would love to hear epic adventures when you go fishing, not just your regular Saturday fish.
So, Chip, tell us what your most epic adventure is.
Well, I do have one epic adventure. I've been on a few. I've been going up and down the coast of Western Australia for many, many years. If I remember rightly, this was back in about 1990. Myself, I've got 4 older brothers. 3 of us have always owned a boat. We had a old wooden one to start with, which we started skiing in the Canning River. We then brought a fiberglass ski boat about 17 foot long, which we used to use in the ocean as well to go squidding and crabbing and everything. And then we brought our dream fishing boat, which was like a 21 foot, I think it was like a trail craft alley, and had 150 on the back.
Yeah, right.
You know, big sides on it. Perfect fishing boat, you know, to be able to go out of Perth and that. So for 2 or 3 years, my older brother Bernie and my cousin, who was also a partner in the boat, and he was retired from the army, they used to go on trips up to Coral Bay, north of Coral Bay. They used to go to Bruboodjoo Point, we call 9 Mile as well, which is just north of Carterby Station, Coral Bay. And I'd been up there before when I was younger, and quite a few times, and it was before Bernie ever, you know, went up there to be a charter fishing operator. And I think this is where his love of Coral Bay and our love of Coral Bay was. We used to camp at Bruboodjoo Point. Back then in those days, it was a rough trip up there. From the Exmouth Carnarvon Road into Coral Bay was all gravel. 10 or 12 Ks, and it was rough. As soon as you got off that Exmouth Road, you would hit the Coral Bay Road, and there was big holes in it. You'd go over peaks, and there'd massive holes in the road, and it was rough as. And then we had to turn into Carterby Station and then travel, you know, the 9 Mile, I think it was more, it was probably like 25 Ks up to Bruboodjoo Point. And a lot of people did used to camp there, but they were just hardcore fishermen, and because there wasn't a lot of Coral Bay at that time either. So this one year, I think I'd gone around Australia, I'd come back, Bernie had arranged this trip with Gary, my cousin, and said, "Are you in?" And I said, I think we were just about to have a child. I said, "Yeah, I'm in." So it took us about 2 months to organise it, and we had this massive circus tent. Well, we called it a circus tent. It had a steel frame, it had trusses, it was massive, and then it had it was a big square, and it had the peak roof and everything, and we called it the circus tent. Anyway, you could split it into about 6 rooms. It was perfect. That's all you needed to take, but it had massive frames and that, which we used to put in the back of the boat to travel. We organised the trip. We had another friend of ours, because we were in newspapers back then, and a friend of ours was going to come with us, but he pulled out, Peter, like a week before we were about to go, and he said, "Oh, don't worry, I've got a mate," and he's across the road, and he was ex-army guy. I don't think he'd ever done any trips like this before, you know, camping right up in the bush, up on the water, and sort of hardcore fishing. His name was Peter as well, brand new Land Cruiser. And I was picked to go with him, and I said, yeah, I'll go with him. Yeah, brand new Land Cruiser.
Sign me up.
Bernie had this old, 1990s Nissan station wagon Patrol, which he used to treat quite harshly, being a mad fisherman he was. We got all organised. This Peter guy, every single bit of his camping equipment wasn't out of the plastic bag yet, so he hadn't done anything before. But he had all the gear, but no idea. So I said, "Yep, I'm going up in luxury. I presume back then, it must have been a 100 series or something like that, but it was brand new.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, yeah, I'm going with him. So anyway, the boat goes on the back of Bernie's Nissan. We've got a guy from South Australia came over, Jamie. I didn't know him. There was Bernie, my other brother Ted. There was the army guy Peter, and our nephew, who was the son of our oldest brother Terry.
Yeah.
He was about 17 years of age. Chris was a lovely bloke. So there was 5 of us. Off we went. Anyway, we get up there, and on the way up, Bernie's telling us that all about his mates, Nick and Con, who were fruit and veggie merchants, and they've got a couple of 25-foot inboard alleys that they take up every year, launch off the beach. They put a marker out in the channel to go out through the Ningaloo Reef, and on the last day you have to bring the marker back in.
Yeah.
So, because it's only a very short gap to get out there, and of course, you know, you need to go on the really good days fishing. You don't want to go out there because you've got to come back through a very neat channel.
It's pretty treacherous, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to save you to go south and through the North Channel, you know, into Coral Bay sort of thing. So anyway, we get up the boat, I think, with the frame, with we had 2 chest freezers, we had fridges, we had a generator, all in the boat. You know, the boat would have been 4.5 ton on a 3 ton trailer.
No
or something
such
like
thing
that.
as G.
Yeah, yeah, and
GVMs then.
Bernie's station wagon, you know, Nissan Patrol, just chock a block with blokes and gear and everything. It's just the usual what we used to do back then. Anyway, off we go, and I was in luxury. I was in the new Land Cruiser, you know, thinking, oh, this is great.
Unwrapping fishing rods.
Yeah. The boat was called Line Dropper 3. There was 4 of us in it. It was great. Anyway, when we get up there, the fruit and veggie guys, Nick and Con, they called them the Telecom boys, and they were camped just around from us a little bit. And it was because they had a telephone there, which was not connected, but that was their little joke.
Yeah.
So I think someone worked for Telecom and used to bring a phone up there all the time, so they were called the Telecom boys. But they, like I was saying, they had these 2 25-footers. They had a doctor. They had a 30-foot caravan. They had a truck, which with a tail lift on it, which had freezers, fridges, beds. They had every single thing you could ever imagine.
And they got it up there.
Yep.
Wow.
On that track that we went on, but back in the day, it used to be twice as bad as that. Through Carterby and up through there. And it used to be a shocking trip. These guys had go up there for 2-3 weeks, and they had everything they ever needed, you know. Anyway, we arrive there, we meet them. They've just come in from fishing from the day, and they had this massive mackerel, would have been about 30 or 40 kilos. And I thought, oh wow, this is going to be fun, this trip. You know, these guys know what they're doing. And you got to moor your boats out in the bay a bit. Anyway, we got there, we set up. We had to set up a toilet tent. We had to set up a generator tent. We then had to set up the circus tent. we had to put the boat in the water, and you know this has all got to be done really quickly because that's what my mad brother back then and mad fisherman had got to do. I was pretty easy going, you know, being the youngest and all that. And so, you know, it's just mayhem for about 5 or 6 hours after you get there to get everything set up. Boat in the water, got to get it out on the mooring and, you know, and swim back in and all that sort of thing. Anyway, we got all that done. We set up camp. We put all the freezers and that underneath the camp and ran the cords over to the generator and got all that sorted out, and we're all ready to go. Anyway, we're sitting in the camp that night cooking up a meal. Chris, the nephew, and he's got his 3 uncles, us all sitting around there. He rips out this bag of green stuff out of his bag. And I said, oh, what do you got there, Chris? He says, oh, I've got a bag of weed.
Just casually?
Just casually, 17. He's his 3 uncles sitting with him. And my brother was only a couple of years older than me. Ted goes, oh, you ripper. We're set for the week. And I never indulged very much in weed. And Bernie didn't really care that much, but he thought, yep, he was a smoker. And we're all smokers back then. We thought, yeah, right, bit of weed, great. We're going to have a great trip. So, that was a bit of a shock first night with your nephew there.
Yeah.
Anyway, unbeknown to us, Chris's father and his girlfriend decided to rock up the day after us and camp about 300 metres away and didn't even acknowledge us or anything. And not that we had a great relationship with Terry, but he just rocked up and decided, we had the big boat. He rocks up in a tinny.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, yeah, him and his girlfriend are obviously just going to, run around in the shallows and stay inside the reef and all that and have a good time. And we got the shock of our life when we saw him the next day. Oh, hi, Terry, how you going? And he didn't want to join our camp. He just wanted to be there with his girlfriend, out in the middle of nowhere and go fishing because he was a pretty mad fisherman as well. So the next morning we get up, we're all organised. There was always like 2 of us stayed on the beach or one of us, and the other 3 or 4 went fishing every day. And whoever was on the beach would zip over to the tip with the rubbish and do the cooking and, organise camp, get ready for, make sure the beers are cold every day and filling the fridges up and the freezers and all that. So it was it was a little bit windy, but it was good. We used to go out through the marker every day and then come back not too late because when the waves are breaking over the reef, you wouldn't see the marker. It was only like probably 2 metres off the water high, the flag, and they'd put a weight down and everything. And, I think we had a sounder back then, but we didn't have the Navonics and all that sort of thing where you could see the gap in the reef and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just had to be careful where you were going. We had a great day of fishing. Even though it was windy, we got all the usual species that you get, mackerel along the back of the reef, went out a bit deeper, red emperor, got plenty of spangled emperor, red throats, things like that. So we were filling up and it was just fantastic. Now, on that first day when we were coming back in, we'd come through the reef and you had to come quite a long way inside the reef, go through the bommies and all that. We were coming back to the sandhill and we looked over there where we thought we'd see the top of our tent, and all we could see was 4 legs upside down. And we thought, what's going on here?
Beautiful.
Yep, and this was the first day after going fishing.
Oh.
Anyway, we pull up, we thought, oh, no. So we obviously hadn't pegged down the tent, even though it was such a big tent, and the thing had rolled over.
Yeah.
And, of course, the metal frame had all buckled and busted and everything, and all our fridges and freezers were out in the hot sun. And anyway, we spent the whole next day. Fortunately, the boys next to us had a welder.
Oh, wow.
And Ted was a good welder, so we got stuck into it. Took us about 4 hours or something. We had to weld it all back up, put the tent back over, sort it all out, get organised. Star pickets in, rope it better, make sure, because, it's quite a windy place most of the year round up there. Even though, during the better months, you still do get windy days. So anyway, that was the first catastrophe. Not that it was a catastrophe. It was the first epic thing that happened on the trip. But we were catching fish, so no one really cared much.
Yeah.
And we used to swim out to the boat to have our shower every morning because you'd have to swim out to the mooring to bring the boat in, that sort of thing. So we got all that sorted out. We had to fuel up the next morning, so we have to bring the boat in. We had 44-gallon drums on the back of the I think someone had a trailer. We might have taken a trailer up with us, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They used to drop fuel at the airstrip at Coral Bay. You'd pick up 44-gallon drums and bring them up to the camp, that sort of thing. So we had a 44. We backed down next to the boat on the beach. I was in the water, and, of course, the pump wouldn't work to put the fuel in the boat.
Yep.
So what do you do when the pump doesn't work? You take a big
You might have a
big
drink.
mouthful.
You have a big drink of petrol.
Yeah. And I got it all over my face, in my eyes, everything, and I was standing in the water and I had to go underneath.
Burping petrol for the next few days.
Yeah, and the taste, you can't get out of your
No,
mouth.
it's shocking.
So I was under the water trying, for about 10 minutes trying to get all the fuel out of my eyes and everything. So that was great fun.
Chewing on a bar of soap to clean yourself out.
Got out fishing again, had a great time. I think it was a couple of days into the fishing and we'd been catching a lot of fish and we were very happy. And I think it was probably like the 3rd day we went out. We had a ridiculous day. I caught my first sailfish ever, and we were only 500 metres outside the reef. And we were trawling, and I got probably 70 kilos or something like that.
Wow.
Which was a pretty big sail. He went right across the back of the boat.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic fish. And then Jamie hooked a marlin the very next trial we had and got it right up to the boat. It had a massive shark under it, but we didn't tag it. I don't think we had tags, but we were going to let it go anyway and just take photos. But it did get off, and we were hoping that, it didn't get sharked.
Yeah.
And but it was a black marlin, so we were quite stoked because we had a sailey and a marlin out of our 21-footer that, we didn't even think we'd be catching anything like that. We were just up there for bottom fishing most of the time.
Yeah.
So we're pretty fortunate there. That was really, really good. Anyway, we got home that afternoon, and my oldest brother, Terry, who wasn't camped with us in his dinghy, and his girlfriend was nowhere to be seen, and this was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we hadn't seen them. We'd seen them inside the reef in the morning fishing, but we sort of thought they might have gone outside the reef.
Yeah.
And there was only like 3 bigger boats, ours and the fruit and veggie guys who were camped with us, who we knew, up there in the middle of nowhere. And we were a bit worried. So
their car was still there, obviously.
Yeah, their little camp and that was all there, and the dinghy had gone. So, we knew they were out fishing for the day, but we didn't know where they were.
Mm.
So Bernie, Ted and I decided at about 5:30 in the afternoon that we hadn't seen them. We better go and find them. We got back in the boat. We had a big spotlight on the top of the boat, which you could control from inside the cabin.
Yeah.
And it was getting on dusk, and so we had to travel from the mooring all the way up to the break, which was, a couple of mile inside the reef. It was low tide. There was bommies everywhere. We had to be extra, extra careful because it was on dusk. And Bernie was not a happy person. He said, if we wreck our boat trying to find our oldest brother and his girlfriend, and we don't know where they are, and we had a feeling they were outside the reef.
Yeah.
We were not happy. So anyway, up we go. We travelled right up to the gap. We weren't going to go out because, it was windy and...
Too risky.
Yeah, just way too risky in our size boat. We just happened to turn right at the gap in the reef and look towards the beach, which was probably 500 metres away, and we just got this, I think from the moon, we got a glimmer of something shiny.
Yeah.
Hacking along the beach, and we thought, what's that? Anyway, we thought, right, let's head towards it, and we couldn't catch it. He was hiking along the beach in the dinghy, right in the shallows, really, really fast, and of course we didn't know it was him, but we got closer and closer, and we put the spotlight on and realised it was them. We got back, of course there was a bit of an argument going on, and Bernie said, how dare you, risk our lives? And he said, you didn't have to come and find us or anything like that. And he's got this massive mackerel on the boat.
Oh.
So we knew straight away where it had been. He'd been out behind the reef.
Yeah.
And we got back that night, and, they had a bit of a tiff. And, of course, we had his son with us. So it was a bit difficult, but anyway. But brothers do have these tiffs every now and then.
I could imagine your brother Bernie being pretty short at times.
Yeah, well, we were risking ourselves going up there.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
That time of the evening with a spotlight going through,
And you didn't have the GPS.
No.
And satellite.
Nothing like that. So
electronic.
it was a bit risky, but of course he was
days.
our brother and we had to go and find him. And he didn't think there was anything, of that. He said
just laughing it off.
Yeah, sort of thing. Thinking, what are you worried about, you blokes,
Yeah.
Anyway, off we go. We start the next day out fishing again. Another couple of days go fishing. We just had the best trip. It come to, I think it was like the second last day of fishing. I was on shore with Peter, the ex-army guy. He was about 48 years of age, I think I remember rightly, and he'd had pretty good health. And we decided that we'd stay on shore for the day while the boys were out fishing. And anyway, what happened is we went over to the tip, which was just a hole in the ground behind the sand dune, which, I think the council had organised so the place never got in, to disrepair or anything like that. So we were travelling over there and we're in his nice new Land Cruiser with a couple of bags of rubbish in the back, and he starts telling me he's getting a bit of a sore chest. And I'm 25, he's 48. And he says, I'm starting to really get sore in the chest. And I thought, oh, no, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I've got no radio on me and nothing like that. we're only about, 500 metres from the camp, and we had UHF where we could, get hold of the boys on the boat. I think we had a marine radio, and they had, obviously on the boat, so we could always keep in contact. And we got closer to the tip, and I've pulled up, and he's excruciating pain in his chest. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but
That's what you were thinking.
Hey, I'm the only one here.
Yeah.
Everyone's out fishing. The 3 boats are out fishing, and I'm stuck on the beach with this guy who's having a heart attack. I stopped everything, went back to camp. There was no one around. I got on the radio, hey, boys, you got to come in. Pete's having a heart attack. So I've got him laying down on a stretcher, and he's getting, real sweaty, and he's getting worse.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were able by radio to get hold of the Coral Bay Sea Rescue, and which Bernie is and Sandra are now, they run it now these days. What we had to do was arrange for them to get a Royal Flying Doctor Service plane to the Coral Bay Strip, and then we had to get this guy to the Coral Bay Strip, which was, the 20-odd kilometres away on the roughest road you'd ever want to be on. And this guy's having a heart attack. So the camp next to us, the fruit and veggie boys, the Telstra boys, they had left and they were going back to Perth, but they were only about halfway along the track.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Bernie on the boat, he said, look, radio the boys, tell them to stop where they are. We'll bring Peter to them because they've got the old fella who's the doctor, and he's always got his doctor's bag with him.
Very smart.
Very smart. Anyway, he says to us, look, have you got any Disprin? And I had Disprin, so I gave him aspirin, I think. Aspirin, yeah, you got to have aspirin put under his tongue or whatever to keep him a bit. But what we had to do was we had to strip an old Land Cruiser out that was there. Someone else had old Land Cruiser. We had to strip the seats out and everything, and we had to lay him in the back, and we had to do about 5 kilometres an hour over these rough tracks with him laying in the back on a mattress.
Wow.
And get him to the doctor, because the doctor, with all their trucks and trailers and caravans, they weren't coming back. We had to get to them. So anyway, the boat had come in. We'd made this guy. We'd stripped the car out. We got him, quite comfortable, and we got him on the track. So it took about 2 hours on the track. We got to the doctor, and the doctor had glycerin, I think it was, if I remember rightly, and he gave him the glycerin. We continued on to the airstrip. There was a Royal Flying Doctor plane that had left Carnarvon on its trip to Broome. It was about 3/4 of the way to Broome. They called it back, pulled in. We got him there, put him on the plane, off to Carnarvon to the hospital. What a day.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious day.
Yes, it was for me. It was an interesting day.
As a 25-year-old.
Yeah, it was good.
Good, you reckon?
No, well, obviously, I had a lot of help there. And once we got to the guys in the Telstra camp boys, they were all older gentlemen, and obviously a lot of trips and things go wrong in their time, so they knew what they were doing, and we organised it all, and. Yeah, we saved his life, and he'd had a reasonable heart attack.
Yeah,
but he come good, and I think they had to fly him back from Perth, and I had to drive the nice new Land Cruiser back to Perth. So I thought, this is fantastic. But it would have been better if Pete was with me.
Yeah.
So the day after was our last day there. So he was in the Carnarvon hospital. We had to go out and pick up the marker, because the telecom boys had left. It was their marker. They said, look, on your last day, just pick the marker up, bring her in.
Yep.
So anyway, we head out, blowing a gale. And I mean, it was probably 30 knots or something. And we head up there, and we got to go into the channel between the reef, pick up this marker. We weren't going to go fishing. We were just going to go and get the marker. We couldn't even get the marker. We actually went out, and we missed it on our first go as we were going through the gap, and we had to turn around, and there was big breakers coming in, and I was really worried. Bernie's never ever as worried, because he's a really good boatman and, done a lot more fishing in the ocean than I had. We turned around, and we were coming in with the waves, trying to stay on the back of a wave, and we were trying to grab this marker and not stop. So... it was just a big flexible pole with a flag on it, and obviously had a weight on the bottom and it had a buoy on it and everything like that. And we tried one more time as we were coming in because we weren't going to go back out again, and we missed it. So we said, don't worry about it, boys. We'll buy him another one.
Yeah. This ain't worth our life.
It was, I was really worried. And anyway, that was the last day of the trip. We didn't get the marker. We got back, we packed up, headed back into Coral Bay for a feed, and then back to Perth, and Pete was okay. But it was an epic trip. I mean, it was about a 10-day trip or something like that. And
Yeah.
I was obviously with my brothers, and for everything that happened on that trip, we were all safe and sound. And even me brother Terry with his girlfriend who wanted to, head out past the reef in his tinny every day and go mackerel fishing, where we were in our, 20, actually our boat was about 23 foot, with the motor sticking off the back and the front and everything. And he's in this little, 12-foot dinghy out there, which is, madness.
Yeah.
But we're all fine in the end and got back to Perth in one piece, and Peter lived, which was fantastic. So
Yeah, that's great.
Bruboodjoo Point, 9 mile north of Coral Bay. We camped there, 2 years ago? And probably 3 years ago now. I'll always remember it. It's a great place to go fishing. You can actually get in there now off the main road. There's a track in, so you don't have to do the old track anymore.
No.
Which is still quite fun, because you go past Oyster Bridge, and you don't go through Carterby Station anymore. You go around it, and but that was the good old days, and one epic trip that I'll never forget. Good fun.
Yeah, that's definitely epic.
Yeah. Chunk, what's your epic fishing adventure?
Well, back when I was I think I was 24, my best mate lives over in Townsville, in Queensland there, and with his wife, and
Damo
was his name, and Jade, and his mum and his stepdad, they're down in Proserpine, which is a few hours down the coast, and which is not far from Airlie Beach. If anyone knows that, it's a beautiful part of the world. So
It is.
we went down there to go on this fishing adventure, 2 nights out on the reef.
Out of Shute Harbour or somewhere like that?
Yep. So anyway, we went down there and we had to be on the dock at 5 o'clock in the morning, and so we went down the day before, and Damo says, my mates are in town, we'll go have a couple of beers with them. Yeah, no worries.
As you do.
As you do. Anyway, so his mate walks in the room, who's the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he goes, I'll buy the first round of drinks, boys, I've been away for 6 months, and he comes back with not just 6 beers. He comes back with 50 shots of, I don't know what it was, Galliano or whatever.
Golly.
Yeah. So you can imagine what 5 o'clock in the morning was. It was very hard work. And we had to catch a taxi and down to the ramp, and
Go fishing.
it was just set up for fail to begin with. So we went out, spent 2 days out in the reef, and that was great fun, but we found out that his stepdad has this hut out at Kangaroo Creek, which is next to the Gregory River system, and it's on a 99-year lease out there, those types of things.
Fishing shacks.
Fishing shacks, it's just, if you can ever have the opportunity and stay in something like that, it's good fun.
Yep.
It's pretty rough living, but it's good fun.
Usually they're passed on down the generation.
Yeah,
for
once you
people
got
to
them, you
have a lot
don't
of
let them
fun.
go, do you? Yeah.
No. Sounds like croc country up that way, is it?
Yeah, there's a couple of crocs, yep.
Yeah.
It was very spontaneous when we went out there, and Damo, Jade and I, we set out there, we took the tinny off his stepdad and got to the shacks there, and there's the old single frame metal beds with the springs on them,
A bit rough.
So, and there's about 40 shacks in this one shed. So they must have the odd party there every now and again. And then they had this old Navara out there they called the Nugget. So we went to turn that over once we got set up, and no start. So we had to pull the battery out of the boat and put that in the car and fire up, no worries. But then the boat was electric start too. So we went, and it was low tide in the water. So we had to back the ute and the boat and the trailer in the water. I think we backed it up to the bottom of the door sills. But then we had to take the battery out of the ute.
Put it in the boat.
Put it in the boat to get the
Boat going.
boat going. And, of course, once we got the boat going, that was fine, that was running. But we had to put it back in the ute to get the ute out of the water and then bring the battery back to the boat so in case we need it later on. It was a shit show.
Yeah. You off in the boat?
We're off in the boat and off we went with our 20-litre jerry can in this tinny and up to the river and with our crab pots. Set off at low tide so we'd get up there at high tide and all the rest of it. And so we're throwing pots around and whatever, and then we're obviously having a few beers while all this is happening, making some very smart decisions.
Hung over from the night before?
Yep. I think this was about day 4. And then all of a sudden the tide goes out, so we had to jump out of the boat to go get a crab pot. And amongst all this, we've only got 1 crab. That's all right. We've got enough for breakfast. We're happy. And we're going back, and it's probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, you know. All we had at the shack was this old tilly lamp, which was hanging on a tree out the front, you know, and that was our marker to get back to home.
Yep.
And we're driving along in the ocean, a couple of k's offshore.
Looking for a light.
Yeah.
Your lighthouse.
Yeah, which is, you know, about as bright as a dolphin torch. So good luck to us. And we've only got a 20-litre jerry can of fuel. So anyway.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Our biggest concern at that point is we'll run out of beer. All of a sudden, there's this massive rock appears in the ocean, and we're like, we don't remember this. So we're starting to get a bit worried, and anyway, we keep on steaming. And then there's this massive shine of lights, and we're just like, something's not right here. Anyway,
light.
This is the next town, Bowen. So who knows how far up we were, but we were a long way off. So turn around, back we go, hug the coastline a bit more, and we finally found this light, and in we went. So then we had to do the whole shit show of reverse the ute in, take the battery out, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Get it all back on, and we got home and put this crab that was in this bucket, and we were pretty happy with the size of the crab and everything. We were like, we're going to have a good breakfast here. Because Damo's missus, Jade, she'd gone home because there was too many sandflies, and so she come back to pick us up the next morning. So we didn't have any food. So we hung this mud crab up in the tree. We got up in the morning and he'd gone. He was in this bucket, this 20-litre white bucket, and in the morning this mud crab had gone, and we're just like...
Nothing to eat.
Nothing to eat. We ended up calling him Marty. But yeah, so we were hungry until about 12 o'clock when Jade rocked up. And we didn't have any water, and it was just...
Marty had worked out that he didn't want to be eaten for breakfast.
Oh, it was just...
That I'm getting out of this bucket.
It wasn't very successful, but it was very memorable. So,
yeah, obviously when you got 1 battery and you got 2 vehicles to run,
yeah,
you certainly want to make sure if you're going out in the ocean,
because
you got a battery, mate.
Because it was spontaneous, there was no planning involved. It was just, let's hook the tinny up, grab a packet of shapes from Coles, and let's go.
Let's go. Go and have some fun.
Yeah, so that was mine. That's
North Queensland adventure.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So anyone listening out there, if you've got an epic fishing adventure, and we would love to hear about it, go on the socials and you could be featured on our next pod. We'll also got a merch pack, so please share your stories with us. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.